In today's video, I'm going to tell you guys 7 different champions you can use in the early game. We're going to stick clear of characters that are limited time codes, etc. Mostly going to be recommending characters you can either get completely for free or pretty easily throughout the process, give or take a few lucky summons, of course. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. That being said, let's get a quick word in on how you can get started with Raid today if you haven't already, and if you do so, why it really helps tremendously here on the channel. Download and get started today on a brand new account for Raid Shadow Legends using my code down below in the description. You'll help me out tremendously and I greatly appreciate it. And when you do, you'll get access to Elenaril the Legendary at the sign up. You'll also get Uugo, an Epic champion at level 10, Lightsworn, another Epic at level 20, and Tagoar, an Epic at level 30. You also can use Desert Queen to unlock the Legendary 2 Rock. Get started today and get over $200 worth of free goodies, and it helps me out again tremendously, so I greatly appreciate it. Once again, that does help me tremendously when you guys do sign up for that, so I do appreciate it big time if you could start a new account using my link in the description. That being said, let's get this video to a level of 100 likes, and let me know in the comments down below which character was your first 6-star in Raid Shadow Legends. To answer the question, it was Kale here, who actually is a character that I'm going to throw to the very beginning of this. So, Kale is a champion that is going to be extremely useful for you early game. You can choose him as a starter, and he's got poison abilities, and they are absolutely crucial to helping you deal with enemies that have large HP pools, which makes him relevant into even the mid and early late game as well for the clan boss. So one of the best things about him is that he's got multi-hit moves. So he's got 4 times at random there with Disintegrate, and then he's got an AoE here as well that fills a turn meter for each enemy killed, which is extremely useful for helping when farming early game as well. The only thing I would say about him that's not so great is that he is not the most effective champion in Arena, if that's what you're hoping for, compared to some of the other starter champions, but I do think overall for mostly PvE content and into the mid game especially, he is the character that you should start off the game with choosing, and he is going to be extremely useful to you. Alright, so next up is Apothecary. He is not a character you can start off the game by choosing like you can with Kale, but you can obtain him through summons, and I believe there's a permanent promo code as well, Godspeed, for new players that you can use if you wanted to select him. He is a premier support champion for all PvE content, including dungeons, clan bosses, and campaign progression overall. When it comes to him, I think that one of the big pros for him is the crucial team-wide healing ability. So he's got a lot here. So heals a target by 35%. The heal can be critical. And over here in the passive, increases defense, so nothing crazy, but increases the speed buff on all allies for 2 turns and increases the turn meter. This is a turn-based game, so turn meter and speed increases are typically king. Now, aside from that, like I said, he has a pretty common pool, so you can get him pretty easily, making him relatively easy, of course, to acquire and use and max out his skill level with the books. The only con that I have for him is that to be most effective, he requires high speed and survivability stats, which can be difficult early game to min-max, but I wouldn't be so worried about that particularly early. You just want that healing ability, which again heals a good chunk of the HP for the character, and you can get the increases on here as well with skill levels and a cooldown bonus. Could be extremely useful. So I think he's a really good character that is pretty cheap to get early on in the game. If you're enjoying the video and this has already been helpful to you, remember, hit that thumbs up, help us hit our goal of 100. So if you love waifu, well, look no further than War Maiden here. War Maiden is actually a character, though, in all seriousness, that is going to be pretty useful to you. She is farmable from campaign stage 9, the Deadlands. You can obtain her there pretty easily. Like I said, I wanted to stick to champions that are pretty easy to acquire and aren't going to really require some heavy shard usage or anything like that, because if we really got into that list, there would be more champions like an Uugo, who, for example, is a character you can get with my promo code. So sign up with my promo code and you're getting a huge head start. Of course, had to throw the plug one more time, but there are a ton of other epics and stuff like that that you could really get into. Anyway, for early content, she is a core champion for most early game content that requires a decreased defense debuff, like campaigns, dungeons, and arenas. So very useful for that. She also has a poison debuff in there. We talked about that a little bit with Kale. And then right here, this is the defense decrease. Attack all enemies, 75% chance of placing a 60% defense decrease debuff for 2 turns. And as a farmable farmable character. You can also get the extra duplicates in her to increase her skills without using the skill tomes, which are probably pretty early, excuse me. In fact, I don't want to say probably, they certainly are, unless you're spending money. Anyway, the only con really is that she is eventually just outclassed by better champions in epic and legendary rarities with stronger defense, debuffs, and that kind of makes her a character you will replace when you get into the mid/late game, but certainly early, she is a character you can use effectively. Now, if you were actually wanting to know more about some of the champions you can get that would require more pulls and luck and things like that, we're going to go ahead and throw out a few names of characters that I think will be really good, especially early on. We're starting off with Stag Knight. He is an extremely powerful debuffer for the early to mid-game content you'd be taking on. Again, faction wars, doom towers, dungeons, etc. He applies an AoE decrease attack and decrease speed, so that is extremely useful, along with a defense decrease as well. You do need to make sure you invest a lot in his accuracy, though, to really make him shine as a debuffer. This one I think is completely unreasonable, but if you happen to pull him, then you're good to go. But Geomancer is next up. Geomancer is absolutely cracked, in my opinion. I think he's an extremely strong character. But if you happen to pull him, then you know what to do. Invest in him ASAP. Again, another character that is from Shards. He specializes, however, in boss battles, particularly clan bosses and Doom Tower bosses, and is a staple in teams that rely on sustained boss damage, excuse me. His passive ability reflects massive damage back at bosses with HP burn, making him a phenomenal boss damage killer. Extremely strong character. I think he is a uber top tier character for the content that he'll be used in. So again, if you happen to get him early, he is pretty strong. He's pretty easy to build, in my opinion, just to have him have success against bosses. The main thing is just when it comes to epics, obviously getting the tomes and going from there, but his damage scales with the enemy's HP based on the HP burn mechanic. So really strong character overall. He does need to be built again with high accuracy to ensure that he's landing HP burn and the weakened debuffs as well. So that's just a common thing. Next up is Doom Priest, who can be pulled again from Shards, is a excellent support champion for Doom Tower, especially against the Amos the boss, as well as dungeons and the clan boss as well. Her passive allows her to cleanse a debuff and provide a small heal to a random ally at the start of every turn, which offers consistent and reliable support. She provides a team-wide increase attack buff for all allies, which will obviously help with your damage output. She also has the ability here to get the extra bonus as well for the critical rate. But the primary thing is her passive, right? But anyways, it's the only downside of really her passive is that it's a random cleanse, so you can't just specify who you want. But overall, though, a really good champion to have for some difficult situations you could be in. Now, I wanted to throw back to some more champions that I think are going to be really good for you early on. And we're actually going to pivot over to one that I used a good bit that I really like, and that is none other than the rare champion Bellower. I haven't pushed him any further. Haven't used him in quite a while, but early game he was very useful for me for a number of different reasons. He's got multiple AoE attacks, which is really strong. Attacks all enemies on that, and he also attacks all enemies here. He's decreasing attack, decreasing defense, decreasing speed, so a lot of different things that are really strong there. Also, as a void champion, he is neutral to the entire game, so that has its own positive merits as well. The only downside is that he can be difficult to gear for an efficient campaign farm run, requiring specific stat thresholds that can be challenging for a new player to accomplish overall. But other than that, I think he's a really strong character that you can get by using the promo code WELCOMEGIFT, one word, when you first start off the game as well. So pretty solid, straightforward champion there with Bellower. Last but not least, in the interest of being completely authentic, I don't know that I would get to this point, but I tried to make this list mostly around characters that are either farmable, of lower rarities, and characters that could potentially be hidden gems in your inventory early on. But obviously, if it wasn't very clear, we are scraping the bottom of the barrel with some of these choices, and our honorable mention, last but not least, is Diabolist, or Diabolist. This is a champion you're going to get pretty often because they come in campaign stage 12, which is the premier farming grounds. Anyway, really strong though if you were to use this champion in campaign progression, arenas, and dungeons where speed and turn meter manipulation are key. Again, like I said before, turn meter speed stuff is the tippy top epitome of importance in a turn-based game, and this game is no different. AoE attack increases ally speed as well for 2 turns, 30% increase. fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%, decrease the turn meter of all enemies by 15%, and then also has a sleep debuff here. So anyway, the worst thing about her is that her defenses are pretty low when you look at the stats overall, which means she can be pretty frail and would require some really good survivability gear if you really wanted to invest heavily in her. She's a champion you could technically use at any stage of the game. The main thing would just be the, again, stats overall, but the effectiveness of speed and turn meter stuff can't be understated, and in the right compositions, she could be really useful. But I really want to drive home, I didn't want this video to be, oh, get 7 different champions that are legendary rarity, and they're clearly the best characters for you. Now, if you want to start the game with a really strong legendary and some really strong epics, then make sure you start the game using my code as well. Link down below in the description. It's really important you start a new account when signing up, and I'll see you in the game.